Can you hear me now? So there was a comment about my mic not working. I'm just checking. Can you hear me now? Is the mic working properly? Okay, that's interesting. So I'm going to test something. Just let me know in the comments if it turns off again. So I'm going to do this. And now, can you hear me now? I tried changing some settings, so if my mic isn't working again, then I know exactly what's causing it. Okay. Yeah, so there was a specific setting in my streaming software, and now I understand exactly what's the problem. So yeah, okay. As long as you can hear me, then that's obviously the the most important thing. Um, so I guess that means I'm gonna have to start again. Right. So going back to the very beginning, I left off last live stream where I was trying to shift from having an enemy ship controller embedded in the scene. So if I go to testing seek behavior, you'll see here in the scene tree that there isn't anymore, but there used to be an enemy ship controller node with a white ring, right? And that used to have the script enemy ship controller.gd, which managed the waypoints and the enemy ship. But the problem with that is it's a local solution, right? So it only works for that scene, and it doesn't work for scenes outside of that scene. It doesn't work globally. So I've been trying to shift all of that logic and functionality into what's called an autoload or a singleton or a global script. Same thing, just different terms, right? And this will allow me to use that same enemy ship controller throughout the entire project, no matter what scene I'm in, which is perfect because I want to be able to control all the enemy ships and guide them to all possible waypoints in the scene. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to shift things across into that functionality. So yeah, okay. So now I need to carry on with what I was doing. Enemy ship. Was it enemy ships? Cannot find node or path. Enemy ships at iterator. Yeah. Well, I mean, enemy ship node is the same thing, right? Enemy ship set iterator is enemy ship node. So that, okay. Enemy ship is this is going to be a bit trickier than I thought it would be. And it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, eh? Okay, so I fix one problem and then a new one presents itself. Right. So the waypoint node is waypoint ID. So the waypoint at waypoint ID is this one. And then move enemy to waypoint should be given 2 parameters now, because when I set this up, it was only a single enemy ship possible. But now we want to extend that functionality to be for as many enemy ships as there are, right? And they could be 5, they could be 12, they could be 1,000, we don't know. Which is why I created a enemy ships array, right? An enemy ships array to store all the possible enemy ships in the scene. Same thing for the waypoints. We don't know how many there are, right? They could be 9, like they are here, or there could be many more, because we could be creating those waypoints by script, procedural generation, positioning them at random locations, assigning them the waypoint group tag, and all of that stuff automatically, and not by hand like I've done here. And so that's why we created these arrays, right? To store all of those possible waypoints and all of those possible enemy ships, and then be able to manage them, right? So here in this function, so now we want to be able to take in multiple parameters. So not just a single waypoint, but an enemy ship as well. So now I need to go to enemy ship behavior and make sure it has an ID, because that's important. And clearly it doesn't have an ID. It's got a health, a top speed, acceleration, inertia, waypoint, current speed, and current velocity, but it doesn't have an ID. So let's do that. Let's make one. On ready variable enemy ship ID, and this is of type int, and then we give this a default value of 0, because it's potentially the only enemy ship, right? And now there should be a function. Let's see: seek, destroy, take damage, accelerate, process, and ready. Okay. And for waypoints, it's got update waypoint number. It should have a function to okay, so I'm gonna do one more test with the microphone. So just bear with me. I want to test something, because There's a particular preference I have with my microphone, and I would like to know if I can actually have that setting. Because if I have that setting now at the moment, then you can't hear me. So I want to see if I can get that to work without interfering with your ability to hear me, right? So there's this one and this one. No. Well, that's disappointing. Okay, it's fine. I'll just have to live without my preference. Anyway, getting back to this. So these are the functions available, right? So there's ready and update waypoint number, which is to change the label. And then on waypoint ID assigned, and then on area 3D area entered, and on target destroyed, and process. So we need to have some kind of function like this for the enemy ship controller as well, right? So once it's given an ID, so let's do that. Let's change the name on top here from enemy ship ID to just ID, because that's easier, right? It's easier to remember, it's easier to manage. And so we want a function called underscore on waypoint ID assigned. This seems like a function that's connected to a signal. Okay. Waypoint ID assigned dot connect to on waypoint ID assigned. So now the enemy ship controller is going to need a signal for assigning IDs to the enemy ship as well. This is getting way more complex than I would have wanted. And that's annoying. It really is. I wanted to keep things simple, but that's not always possible. So let's just move on. Right, so signals up here. So we'll duplicate this signal like this when an enemy ship so enemy ship ID assigned, and identifier enemy ship not declared in the current scope. Okay. Enemy ship ID assigned underscore ship. All right. And we'll keep that same variable name over here, right? So variable enemy ship node. So this one and this one, paste it like that. And instead of saying this, we'll just say at enemy ship underscore ID. And this takes in another parameter called enemy ship underscore ID, and that's of type int. Okay. Move enemy to waypoint call expected at least 2, but receives 1. And we'll just say enemy ships in position 0 .id. Too few arguments. Oh. And I'm actually going to have to swap these around. So it should be move enemy to waypoint, right? So move enemy ship ID of type integer to. So move the enemy to the waypoint. So we can swap these around as well. So we'll take this, put it there, and then have it like this, and then just make sure that that comma is gone. All right. So now, we'll just take that and paste it there, and then just copy this like so, and put it everywhere. And to save time, we'll just do multiple carrots like so. All right. So again, for now, we're just using move the current enemy, or move the only enemy to a specific waypoint, right? So waypoint 0 through waypoint 8. And on pressing num 0, then move to a random one. We don't care which, just choose one and send him there. All right. So now, enemy ship is not declared in the current scope. So this is enemy ships, multiple enemy ships. And again, get node or null. Take that away, enemy ships in position what is it doing? It's getting the only enemy ship, right? But this is a more complex function than that. Oh, this is a lot more complicated than I was expecting. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to think about this quite a lot and work through it very, very patiently. I'm tempted to just dump it all into DeepSeek and say, fix this for me. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. It's almost definitely going to make huge mistakes and make things worse. So let's just sit through this and be patient. All right? So the first thing I want to do is start from the very top. And then go through this thing very, very carefully. So we've got this class called enemy ship controller extending node, and it takes in a waypoint array and an enemy ships array, and then has two signals, right? So signal 1 is waypoint ID assigned, signal 2 enemy ship ID assigned. And on the ready function, it's connecting ID assigned. Right. This is where we need to be doing that. That makes sense. So connecting enemy ship, connecting enemy reached waypoint signal for ship, and enemy ship node dot name. Enemy ship node connect enemy reached waypoint callable self. Why are you doing this here? Oh, yeah, because you have to. You're instantiating all the enemies one by one, and so you need to connect their signals right now, as soon as they are created. Okay, so now we need to do the same thing. Enemy ship node dot enemy reached waypoint dot connect to this signal. This function. Okay, so we've connected this signal to this function, and then we need to do the same thing as we've done here, but for the enemy ship as well, right? So we say enemy ship node dot ID is the current value of iterator. So we assign the current value of iterator to the enemy ship node. And then we say waypoint, sorry, not waypoint, enemy ship ID assigned dot connect to some function, right? And that's this one on waypoint ID assigned, which is down there. Waypoint's ID is waypoint ID. But couldn't we just do that here in the ready function instead? Instead of emitting a signal. Oh, yeah, I get it. This is a more general solution. So yes, we could just say set the ID here, right? We could say waypoint node dot ID, like we've done, is iterator, but waypoints at waypoint ID dot ID is waypoint ID. So this seems redundant, right? Because we're doing the same thing just before we emit the signal anyway. But later on in the game, we might want to change the waypoint ID for whatever reason. And then when we emit the signal, it will do that. And we don't have to worry about having an instance of the waypoint or getting the specific waypoint or any of that stuff. We just say, change the assigned ID to this waypoint, right? Assigning ID to waypoint ID. But no, this is confusing me now, because how would you know which waypoint should react to that signal, right? you would need a current ID and a new ID. Assigning ID to waypoint. Waypoint's ID is ID. I don't think this is the function we want to connect to. I think it's this one instead. On waypoint ID assigned, set the ID, update the waypoint number, and then print this. So let's do that instead. So in the ready function, instead of connecting it to, oh, we did, to waypoint node dot on waypoint ID assigned. Aha, okay. Yes. Okay, so then this one is not necessary because each waypoint should handle their own thing. So let's just, we can comment this out for now and then come back to it later. Okay. So we'll just do triple quote comment to comment out the block, because these don't work the same as a single hash. They become documentation comments, and they stay documentation comments if I add another hash. So then that's not ideal. Okay, anyway, coming back to this, we want an enemy ship ID assigned dot connect to enemy ship node this, right? And connect this to, so enemy ship node dot on waypoint ID assigned enemy ship node dot ID. Okay, now we need to go into this and create a function for that, right? So let's, oh, copy enemy ship node ID assigned. And then go here and create a new function for that. So down here somewhere, okay, so function this pass, right? So function on enemy ship node ID assigned. Does this one take any parameters on waypoint ID assigned? It does. It takes a waypoint ID. So then this one should do the same, right? It should take a enemy ship ID of type integer. And then it should have a similar functionality, right? So enemy ship behavior, and then paste it there. And then change this to enemy ship ID. And then it doesn't need this yet. Well, maybe it does. Update enemy ship ID number. update waypoint number, update enemy ship number. Okay, and now it's complaining that this does not exist yet, which is fine because we can do that. We can create it. So let's go ahead and create it. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, function this thing. Update waypoint number takes in nothing, and then we'll just do this and paste it in here. Okay, and then enemy ship. Are you serious? Okay, so this is enemy ship label. Does it have the, yeah, it's got this unready variable waypoint label. So I'm gonna have to create this label. Okay, it's getting more and more complicated. No problem, we'll do it, we'll fix it. So I need to create a label. So if I go to the waypoints, I can say waypoint number, just copy that. No, just copy the whole node and paste it to the enemy ship route. Paste. And then we rename this to be enemy ship number. Okay. And then back to the script. If I go to the very top, I can create an onReady label. So we'll just do that again. So we say at onReady variable enemy ship label is of type node path, or is it of type label? Label 3D is get the node enemy ship number. And then we just copy that, paste it there. Okay. So it seems all the errors are fixed for now, at least all the immediate errors, syntax and such, but the semantics errors are still a problem. And I seem to have lost my place because I was stuck with all of this. So coming back here, enemy ship ID assigned dot connect enemy ship node on enemy ship node ID assigned, and then give it the enemy ship ID. Okay. Right. So it's been 43 minutes and we're closing in on the hour. So I want to just make a note of all of this so that when I come back next time, it's not so much of a process to catch up and remember where I was and what I'm doing and think things through and so on. So let me just open up a new board. New. Here we go. And let's create a note for ourselves, for me and for you, to understand exactly what it is that we want. Okay? So here is the enemy ship controller. Okay, so we'll say enemy ship controller. And it's got two arrays. It has an array of enemy ships. So let's change the color to like a red color because, yeah, okay, enemy can be red. So we'll do this. That's your array of enemy ships. And it's got another array of waypoints. All right. And what we want to do is connect waypoints to enemy ships. So let's just change the names on top here so that we know what we're talking about, so I don't get confused and you don't get confused. So zoom in and write that name. So this is the enemy ships, and this is the waypoints. Okay. Now there should be multiples, right? So let's change the size of the pen to something big, like 25. Is that big enough? Maybe 30. Yeah, that's big enough. Okay, change the color to red. Okay, so let's say we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't care if they're not really that aligned. That's not the whole point, right? The point is to draw a diagram, make it easy to follow for you and for me. Okay, so those are the enemy ships, and these are the waypoints. All right. We can change the size back to 3, change the color back to red, and now we'll just number them. We'll go down the side here and number them. So this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so we've got 10 waypoints, or rather 10 enemy ships there, and we can create, or label rather, we'll label the waypoints here too. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Now what we want to do is to be able to say, change the color to red, that any waypoint should be able to reach any enemy ship should be able to reach any waypoint, right? Now what we want to do is we want to say that choose a waypoint. So let's say, I keep saying waypoint, but I mean enemy. Choose an enemy ship. Okay, so let's go with enemy ship number 4. Okay, and connect it to a waypoint. So any waypoint, let's say waypoint 7. So do that, right? Now that means that waypoint 4, change it back to ordinary pin. Um, going to this one. Okay, so enemy 4 is going to waypoint 7, and then once it's reached there, so let's create a new event in a different color. So here we have like an event, right? So it's exclamation mark to kind of emphasize that something's happened. Enemy. Wow, that's really unclear. Let's make the writing a bit wider so that it's easier to read from zoomed out. So, enemy reached waypoint. Okay, and so now this has to signal to the enemy ship controller, right? So let's do that. We'll draw what? That's not what I thought it was. Freehand path, Bezier curve. So let's do that to that. Oh, I get it. So from there to there to there. No. How does this work? There. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll draw an arrowhead like so. So what I'm doing is I'm drawing out a scenario where we see the full process, right, of all the signals that are going on. So the enemy ship controller should signal to the waypoint. So let's do that. We'll draw an arrow from the enemy ship controller to waypoint 4. Enemy 4, sorry. I keep saying waypoint. So it should go to enemy 4 and say um, target waypoint. Seven, right? And just rotate this back to 0. Right. So it should say target waypoint 7, and then this one says, okay, I'm going to waypoint 7. And once it reaches the waypoint, then it signals the enemy ship controller, and it should then say, send another signal to waypoint 4 to target another one, right? And so the cycle goes again. So let's say that this was step 1. So we'll change the color and say signal 1. Right? It says target waypoint 7. Sends that to signal 4, enemy ship 4. Then this is 2. So let's number this one 2. Just so that we don't lose track of the actual sequence, right? So it says go to waypoint 7. Then it says, okay, I'm going to waypoint 7. And then it says, hey, I've reached waypoint 7. So this is 3. And now it sends a new signal to waypoint 4. So let's do that. Send a new signal to waypoint 4 that says choose a different one. So this is step 4 now. And it says target waypoint, I don't know, 3. So let's just turn this so that it's nice and level. And then we write that down. So target waypoint 3. Turn that back to 0. And now change the color. And we say go to waypoint 3. So you do this. Make an arrowhead like so. With the pin, not the mouse. And then we say here, going to. Nope, that's way too big. Looks like going to. And this is now step 5. Okay. So that's one of the possible communications in the signals, right? That the enemy ship controller tells waypoint 7, enemy 4 to target waypoint 7, goes to waypoint 7, reaches waypoint 7, lets the enemy ship controller know, then the enemy ship controller chooses a different waypoint and says, okay, now target that one. And then it says, okay, I'm going there. And then it reaches that, signals waypoint controller, and the cycle continues, right? But there should also be a step here. As you can see, there are 9 other enemy ships, right? So we need to be able to manage all 10 enemy ships and tell them go to waypoints, right? Do this waypoint, do that waypoint, go to this one, go to that one. Because eventually I want to be able to make them fly in formation and follow the leader and do all kinds of amazing things. But I need to have the basics done first, right? So I need to be able to be to manage all enemy ships and tell them to go to specific points or to do to target a specific location or to do something. And that's what I'm trying to sort out now with the enemy ship controller and all of these like signals and functions that I'm adding in. So I hope that that has been helpful for you to follow along and understand exactly what I'm trying to do. So let me just save this and keep it. So this was this. Okay. So that's the end of the hour. I can see we've now just about reached an hour. So I'm gonna say thank you to Cubes for your continued support as a junior DevVenturer. And to all of you watching, thank you for your time and your attention. And also thank you to the one in the comments who has let me know that the mic wasn't working. Thank you as well for your help and for letting me diagnose what exactly was wrong there. So yeah, that's it. I'll see you in the next live stream.